Hey everybody, it's Mari. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I have a 12 by 12 scrapbooking project for the Just Nick Digital cut file design team. I'm going to be using a couple of cut files from the shop. I'm going to start off here with a piece of basil smooth cardstock here, the marshmallow cardstock. This is a really nice, heavy, thick cardstock, and I'm going to do a little bit of mixed media, not too much, but just a little bit. And I've treated this paper with some Art Basics clear, transparent gesso, and that's all dry. And now I'm just going in with some watered down Vicky Bouton art crayon in that really bright pink. And I'm just going to use one of Vicky's art brushes, the wide flat, well, I think it's about a 1 inch flat. And I'm just going to swipe on some of that pink pigment onto my white cardstock. I just wanted a really airy, light watercolor kind of a base for this layout, and I wanted there to be a little bit of the white cardstock showing through. So you'll see that this is pretty transparent. It's just really, I just love this wash that I'm putting on here of this pink color. If you have not discovered Vicky's art crayons yet, they, for me, are just a really basic supply now in my stash. When I want to use something that's really super easy with a really big impact, these art crayons are a really great go-to for me. I definitely really love them. So I highly recommend these. You can still get them. And if you haven't tried these out yet, make sure you check them out. I will link them up in the description box below, along with all of the other supplies that I'm going to use today. And of course, I will link up Nicole's cut files that I will be using. I'll show you those in a little bit here once I've got my mixed media all done. So now what I wanted to do was, once I'm done with this pink here, I wanted to do some splattering in kind of a circular shape. So I'm going to use a bunch of different colors of the crayons. I don't show the whole process here, but I'm just going to keep repeating this same thing I'm doing right now, where I've taken the smaller brush, I'm watering down the crayon, and I'm just going to do some little splatters in a circular motion. And that is where sort of like the area where my cut file, which is a circle, is going to go. So I'll go in and I'll use a bunch of the other colors, a little bit of orange and yellow, a little bit of the kind of a purpley tone. And I just love how these art crayons dry when you splatter them like this. It's just really neat how they react and how they look on your paper when they're dry. Now, I did not want to waste this pigment, so I just went and got some of Vicky's Foundations paper, and I'm going to take all of the leftover pigment and I'm going to just smoosh it down onto a piece of the foundation paper, and then I've got a start on another layout already. So you're going to see how pretty this is when I smoosh this down. This is another really great and easy technique to do some mixed media on a project if you're interested. I really love how this turns out. So just gonna, some of it drips, which is great. I love that look. And you're just going to see how this looks when I pick this up, and then I'll just do a little bit of cleanup and I will be good to go. I'll just set that aside and let it dry for another project another time. So I really like that. I think it's super pretty. I'm just going to move some of that pigment around. Now, this is one of the cut files that I'm going to be using from the shop. This is called the Heart Ring cut file, and I think it's adorable. It's so pretty. I love how those hearts just decorate the two sides of the circle, and I love that some of them are open and some of them are solid, and you're going to see what I'm going to do with each of those different types of hearts. So with the open hearts, what I did was I just traced around the outside edge of the heart, and now I'm just going to fussy cut that, and then I'm going to add a little bit of liquid adhesive to the back of the cut file. And then I am going to just stick that piece of patterned paper on there. The collection that I'm using today is the Dear Lizzie, She's Magic collection. I love that collection. And now you'll just see that I'll take that pattern paper and stick it to the back. If you do not have any idea what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a cut file is a digital image that is brought into software that's compatible with a machine like a Cricut or a Silhouette, Brother Scan and Cut. There's a bunch of different kinds of machines. I have a Silhouette Cameo, and I bring this file into my software and I send the image to my machine and it cuts it out. You can see here I also cut that same image but just a little bit bigger in a blue cardstock as well, and I've adhered it to the first one, the white one, with some foam adhesive. And you can see there I've got all of my little open hearts backed. Now this photo I've printed in a square shape. I love this picture. It's a picture of me and my son's cat and a Snapchat filter. And if you get a chance to look at the photo again, she's definitely rolling her eyes at me, and I could not resist scrapping this picture because it is hilarious. Now what I'm doing is I'm just adding a little bit of gesso to the open heart areas. And I'm going to add a little bit of gelatos to the to those solid areas. Did I say open areas or solid areas? I'm definitely adding it to the solid areas. And then I will just go in with a little bit of gelato. Now, some of the gelatos that I have are sparkly and shimmery, and I wanted that effect on these solid hearts. So you'll just see me scrubbing some of the gelato down onto, mostly onto that little paper, and I'll pick it up and then just spread it around in that way, kind of like a little bit of a watercolor effect once again. And just gonna grab a little bit of water off my mat there and get the pigment moving on those different hearts. So this is kind of like a little bit of satire here with this project. The title of the project is going to be I Really Don't Love You, and it's because of the look on that cat's face. I want to call her my cat because I sort of feel like I've taken over partial ownership of her. Absolutely love having the kitty living with us right now. She is so sweet, and yeah, she is just, I love her so much. And so it's funny because she doesn't necessarily like to be picked up. She will sit on your lap, which is cool, but she doesn't necessarily like you to pick her up and hold her. And so I was trying to hold her for this silly Snapchat picture, and she was not loving it. So the look on her face is just so priceless. I love it so much. So you can see here I'm just adding little bits of splatters and just some really watered down pigment for those hearts just to make them look kind of interesting. And I wanted it sort of to be a little bit of an artsy, artful background in that way, along with that color that I added to my basil cardstock for the base. So just working a little bit more on that. You do not need anything more than a piece of scratch paper to pick that color up. It's super easy to do. Now, I wanted to use a little bit of pattern paper on either side of this white just to kind of break up the white a little bit and make it look a little bit more interesting. And I wanted to add a journaling card to the lower right-hand corner just to balance off that title piece a little bit more. That's outside of the circle, so that I really don't in the puffy alphas is kind of off to one side a little bit. And the reason why I did that is because I didn't want it right in the center lined up with the cut file where it says love you. Now you can see I'm starting to just add a few very, very basic layers. I've got just a few little die cut pieces and a little chipboard frame that I'm going to be using. And I will use a few little enamel hearts from the Dear Lizzie collection as well. Now I took a little manufacturer strip from one of the papers in just kind of that orangey color, and I'll just add that to the left side once again, because the left side right now seemed a little bit unbalanced with that journaling card there at the bottom. So I'm going to add that little bit of extra color over to the left side just to balance the composition of the whole layout off a little bit. Now I love that little die cut kitty. I think a die cut kitty. I think it's perfect, and I wanted to add that to the little embellishment area there as well. I thought I might add this heart button at one point, but I don't end up using it, so I'll just stick that back over onto the packaging. And now I'm going to get my photo matted and stuck down to the layout. So I'm just going to do a simple layer of foam adhesive on the back of my square photo here. And then I will stick that down to another piece of 8x6 pattern paper from She's Magic. This one has some metallic on it, which I thought was a really nice little addition to that layer. And it actually matches the little chipboard frame that I used in the layer in the bottom right hand corner there as well. So I'm just going to use my scissors to roughly cut that out, and I will then go ahead and stick that down to my project there, just kind of down at the bottom of that circle cut file. So now I'm just taking a look at this journaling card, and I'm not really loving the sentiment that it has on it for this particular project. So I'm just going to take some of the patterned paper, a little scrap of pattern paper that I have here, and I'm going to stick that down and then trim the excess off. And then I will just stick that down to the project and do my journaling on there. So in the journaling, I'm just talking about how much we really enjoy the cat, how much fun she just adds to the household. We have so many laughs at her. She is so funny. Like in the evenings, she just kind of is a crazy cat, and she will just run up and down the hallway and jump and play, and she's just really funny. She does a lot of really funny stuff. So I'm just journaling about that here, and I'm just getting these layers all ready to go. So just going to stick that chipboard down. I wanted to cut that in half because you're not going to see basically that one whole half of it. So I thought I might as well just trim that out and use the other half on another project for some layering. And there's a little ticket there that I'm going to use, as well as that little kitty cat. I'm going to stick those things up on some foam adhesive just to get some layers going there and make them look a little bit more dimensional. I'm just going to get that all stuck down. These are just some dimensional stickers that I have adhesive in my stash, but you could just use whatever you like to use for your dimensional stickers or adhesive. These ones happen to be Stampin' Up! Just because I had a bunch of them in my stash to use up, but whatever you have works, just to give that a little bit of dimension. So now I've got that strip stuck down onto that left side, and I'm going to stick that whole section down to that striped paper in behind. I could have actually just cut 2 strips of that striped paper and added them to each side of the layout and saved most of that striped paper. But to be honest with you, I need to get using this paper up. It's all good. I've got more paper in my stash. So I was okay too with how adhering it all down is going to take a little bit of the warping out of that white paper that was a result of the watercoloring that I did there. Now this is a Nouveau Shimmer pen, and I love this for card making, but I also thought I would add a little bit of sparkle and shine to this project with it. So I'm just going to take it and go over those watercolored hearts. I'm not applying too much pressure because I don't want to reactivate any of that color. I've also added some of that sparkle and shine to the Love You cut file there as well. So I really like how that looks. So there you can see how my 2 cut files are used on this layout, the heart ring and the Love You outline cut file. I really love those 2 cut files. I think they are super cool, and they worked really well with my project today and what I wanted to do. So I really like how this worked out. I like the composition of the layout overall. I also added a little bit of stitching with my sewing machine on the 2 sides of the white paper, and that just kind of finishes everything off nicely. I am going to just flip the corner of my photo out from behind that heart. I just want to make sure that it's showing there so that you can see the kitty and her face and her rolling her eyes at me so demonstrably. Thank you, Katie, for giving us that moment. It was a good one. Anyways, thanks so much for stopping by. I will leave a link to all of the products that I used in the description box below, including a link to the Just Knit cut file shop. Make sure you check out the cut files over at Just Knit, and have an amazing day. Thanks so much for stopping by. Bye-bye.